Hello, this is HookshotRacers, and this is a game where you control a ship that can't turn. Instead, you must use a grapple hook to hook onto the obstacles around you and turn around them. As you can see at the very top, you have an energy bar in blue that goes down progressively as time passes by, and when this energy bar reaches 0, the game restarts. As you can see here, when you hit obstacles, your energy bar decreases as well. And as I said, when it goes to 0, the game restarts. By collecting these blue orbs, you can restore your energy bar and survive a little longer. As you can see at the very top, we have a score system, and in order to aim where we shoot our hookshot, we have a red laser that points in the direction we're aiming, and we have a cursor that changes whether we're above an object we can fire on or not. And finally, as you can see, when I move around, there's sand trails behind me, and when I pick up objects, there's particles as well. There we go. Right. So that's it. Now, let's take a look at how the scripts are organized. As you can see here, most of the scripts are in the player object, and the one we're going to look at right now is the hook controller scripts, which draw the aiming laser, which is this red dotted line. It draws the hook as well, which is the white line. It handles the cursor. It handles the hook's physics, how they work, and it handles the ship's direction. So let's take a look at the script right now. So here it is. Now a quick look at how it works. Here everything is sorted into functions. Of course, we declare our variables at the beginning, but then everything is into separate functions, and we have a few functions for everything the hook does. By everything, I mean we have functions specifically for drawing it, functions for handling the cursor, and etc. And of course, to call all these functions, we have a main loop, which is in void update, and which basically checks what is the current state of our hookshot, if we are firing or not, if we can fire or if we can't, if we are in a transition or not, on all these questions. And then, based on this state, it calls the functions. So first, a quick look at how the physics for the hookshot work. Very simply, we have a function that gets the mouse position and translates it to world point. And then when the player shoots, we have a function to create the anchor. Here's how it works. When the player shoots the hookshot, we create an empty object that we'll call an anchor. It also has a rigid body. We create it from a prefab, and then we connect this anchor to our ship with a distance joint 2D. And when the player destroys the hook, when you release the hook, then we destroy this anchor and we disable the distance joint. Now there's also the ship's direction to handle. As you can see here, if the anchor is to the right of the ship, then the ship's direction must be the ship's rotation must be the direction of the anchor plus 90 degrees. But if the anchor is to the right, is to the left of the ship, then the ship's rotation must be the anchor's direction minus 90 degrees. In other words, if the anchor direction is higher than the ship's rotation, then what we'll call the modifier is minus 90 degrees, and else it's plus 90 degrees. So how do we check that? We have a function called initAdjust that use the math function delta angle to check for the shortest difference between two angles. So if that difference is positive, then the angle modifier is minus 90 degrees, and if it's negative, it's plus 90 degrees. As you can see here, we have so this is a function we call when you shoot the hook shot to determine what the modifier would be. We also need a function to get the direction of the hook shot, and we need a function to get the angle of the ship, the rotation of the ship. And as I mentioned, there is transition phases when you fire the hook shot. Of course, the rotation of the ship will be different when it's not firing the hook shot and when it is hooked to an anchor. So there is this transition where when you fire the hook shot, the ship will slowly rotate to the position it will have when it will be connected to an anchor. And this is what we do here with initAdjust. It's a function we call during this transition phase to slowly rotate the ship. And finally, modifyAdjust sets the ship to the right direction when it is hooked to an anchor. So as I said before, this direction is the anchor direction plus the modifier, so either plus 90 degrees or minus 90 degrees. And that's it about my code. Here I only talked about parts of the play hook controller script. As you can see, there's many other parts, but I won't have time to get into them right now. So that's it about the code. Now let's quickly talk about where I failed at concerning Unity and C#. There's concepts I wanted to learn about that I didn't really, that I couldn't really grasp. For example, I wanted to understand and use parenting, and I didn't really manage to. I wanted to use classes as well, for example, to write this whole script. But in the end, same thing, I couldn't manage to, so I did it with functions. And I also didn't get to understand concepts like singletons, for example. Now, as what I could possibly improve if I were to continue development of this game. Well, of course, I could add content. I could add different controls. I could make the controls feel better. I could add mechanics. I could improve the score system, for example. But however, I think it's important to note that the script right now, the whole script for the game, is really messy. Here, this one is written into functions, but most of the others aren't. And there's funny things like the live controller scripts control the user interface and create explosions, and the explosions themselves reset the game. So as you can see, all of this doesn't really make sense. And it works because the game is small, but on a much larger scaled game, it wouldn't work at all, and it would be a nightmare to work with. So if I were to improve this game, I would need to rewrite the code from scratch. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching.